but no, she's abstract, is a bird of sound, in the air of air, soaring. Hello everyone, Ryan here. So I recently read this short poetry collection, I Have More Souls Than One, by Fernando Pessoa, a Portuguese poet, I believe. So obviously, originally, the poems in this collection were written in Portuguese and then translated into English. So I'm not exactly sure how much was lost in translation, or how many words and or phrases were changed in order to make more sense in the English language. But regardless, I still thoroughly enjoyed this collection. I had never read anything by this poet before. I had never even really heard about him before. Well, I want to say maybe like once or twice I came across some of his work in bookstores, and so that's, but other than that, I never read anything by him, and so I'm glad that I purchased this Penguin Mini Modern version of some of his poems. So in this one, there's different poems. They're kind of like they're divided into different sections, and for the sole purpose of the poet, I guess certain poems he wrote them from the perspective of a different persona or personality, a different identity, I guess. Yeah, I really don't know how else to describe it. So like the first three poems are written as Pessoa, he writes as someone called Alberto Caeiro. I want to say Alberto Caeiro, yeah. First three, which I liked. They are the keeper of sheep, the water gurgles, and if after I die. I really liked them. Short but to the point. And then after that, the next section it's Pessoa as Ricardo Reyes, and those poems are as follows: Master serene, crown me with roses. Apollo's chariot has rolled the roses of the gardens of Adonis. The gods do not consent. The ancient rhythm, hate you, Christ, I do not. The wind at peace, to be great, be entire, I want. Legion, live in us. Yeah. So all of those poems I thoroughly liked too. With those, they seem to be slightly a little more philosophical, but also like a little more analytical of, I guess you could say, certain religious desires, or something along those lines. And in the next section, it's Pessoa as Alvaro de Campos. Those poems are tobacconists. I have a terrible cold, Newton's binomial theory, and I am tired. I liked all of those poems too, but these ones, as far as these four, they're like definitely more comical, I would say, or if not comical, then definitely like a bit satirical, and so yeah. And the last group of poems in the last section is just Pessoa as Pessoa, he just as from his own perspective, I guess. And those poems are Dom Sebastio, King of Portugal, As She Passes, Christmas, Harvest Woman, Why, O Holy One, She Came Looking Elegant, I See Boats Moving, There Was a Moment, Should Somebody One Day, Soon as There Are Roses, and finally, There Are Diseases. That's the last poem. And again, I like these too, except I would say like maybe the one Dom Sebastio or whatever, it's King of Portugal, like I'd say I didn't like quite as much as the others because, you know, I'm not exactly familiar with, you know, which king he might be referring to, so unless it's supposed to be like more of a, I don't know, metaphorical kind of thing, but yeah, otherwise I thoroughly enjoyed this entire collection. I would say overall I would definitely give it 5 stars. Yeah, 5 stars. Like at the very least 4.5. Because these poems are like the kind of poetry that I like. They're deeply philosophical, satirical, a little bit comical, humorous, and then also just very artsy, and also too, in a way, kind of haunting. Because there was like definitely more than a handful of these poems after I read them, like really made me stop and think about what I read, and yeah, as I don't know how else to describe that. You know, if you're a big fan of poetry, I definitely recommend reading this. Highly recommend reading this. If you're a fan of this poet and you have yet to read this collection, I definitely recommend you pick it up as soon as possible. Yeah, it's just really well written, thought-provoking, which to me is what good poetry should do. It should cause the reader to pause for at least, you know, at least a couple seconds here and there and just kind of think about how certain phrases or certain words, how they might invoke certain emotions, or rather why it is that they might invoke certain emotions, or, you know, I don't know, at least that's how I feel. So yeah, that'll do it for my review of this I Have More Souls Than One by Fernando Pessoa. And once again, I go 5 stars all the way, so that'll do it. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. As always, next, and don't forget, keep it real, keep on rocking, and peace.